My father slammed me into a wall at my sister's wedding. 5 million views. That's how many people watched the video of my own dad, the man who was supposed to protect me, physically assault me on what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my family's life. Was I wrong for reacting the way I did after that? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same thing if your entire world came crashing down around you in front of everyone you knew? Let me take you back, way back, to understand how we even got to that point. My sister, Sarah, and I grew up in a household that, from the outside, probably looked idyllic. We had a nice house, 2 loving parents, and never wanted for anything. But beneath the surface, there was always this undercurrent, a subtle, almost imperceptible tension, primarily centered around my father. He was a man of routines, of expectations, and of a very particular vision for how his family should operate. Sarah, being the older sister, the more traditionally feminine one, always seemed to fit into that vision effortlessly. She was graceful, agreeable, and excelled in ways that he understood and appreciated: good grades, polite demeanor, involvement in acceptable extracurriculars. I, on the other hand, was different. From a young age, I was more independent, more questioning, and definitely more outspoken. I preferred hiking to ballet, coding to tea parties, and intellectual debates to small talk. This difference, which my mother often praised as spirited and unique, my father saw as a challenge, a deviation from the path he'd laid out. It started small. Comments at the dinner table about my clothing choices, thinly veiled suggestions that I should try to be more like Sarah, or dismissive remarks whenever I talked about my passions. When I wanted to study computer science, a field he deemed unladylike and too competitive for a woman, he actively discouraged me, pushing me towards something he considered safer and more appropriate, like teaching or nursing. I fought him every step of the way, quietly at first, then more overtly as I got older and my convictions solidified. Sarah, bless her heart, always tried to mediate, to smooth things over, but even she couldn't penetrate the wall of my father's rigid expectations. My mother was caught in the middle, a peacekeeper who loved both her children, but often lacked the strength to stand up to my father's dominant personality. She'd give me knowing looks, gentle squeezes of the hand, silent apologies for his behavior, but real intervention. It was rare. Despite his disapproval, I thrived. I got into my dream computer science program, aced my classes, and landed an incredible internship that set me on a path to a successful career. Every achievement felt like a small victory, not just for myself, but against the narrative my father had tried to impose. But with each victory, his resentment seemed to fester. It wasn't overt anger, not usually. It was more like a slow, simmering disappointment that manifested in subtle jabs, cold silences, and an increasing favoritism towards Sarah, who, by this point, was engaged to a wonderful man named Mark. Mark was everything my father approved of: stable job, traditional values, respectful, and genuinely adored Sarah. Their wedding became the next grand project, an event that my father orchestrated with meticulous detail, ensuring it was a reflection of his perfect family image. I was Sarah's maid of honor, a role I cherished. We had always been close, despite our different personalities and my father's attempts to drive a wedge between us. Sarah understood me, and I understood her. She was my confidante, my best friend. The wedding planning was hectic, but we navigated it together, laughing at the absurdities and supporting each other through the stresses. I wanted her day to be perfect, truly perfect, and I poured all my energy into making sure everything went smoothly. The week leading up to the wedding was a whirlwind of rehearsals, family gatherings, and last-minute errands. My father was, as expected, in full control mode, directing everyone with an iron fist disguised in a velvet glove. He had a specific vision for everything, down to the seating chart and the placement of the floral arrangements. The morning of the wedding started beautifully. The sun was shining, Sarah was radiant, and there was an air of joyous anticipation. We were at the venue, a stunning old mansion with sprawling gardens, getting ready in the bridal suite. Hair, makeup, laughter, champagne, it was everything you'd imagine. My mother was there, a little teary-eyed but beaming. Even my father, for a fleeting moment, seemed relaxed, though I noticed him constantly checking his watch and giving discreet instructions to various staff members. My job, besides supporting Sarah emotionally, was to ensure everything was on schedule and to handle any last-minute issues. That's where things started to unravel. About an hour before the ceremony, the wedding coordinator approached me, a look of panic in her eyes. "There's a problem with the string quartet," she whispered. "One of the violinists just called in sick, and they can't find a replacement in time. They're saying they might have to play as a trio, but Mr. Henderson specifically requested a quartet for processional." My father, a stickler for detail, had indeed made a very specific point about the quartet. He wanted a full, rich sound for Sarah's walk down the aisle. I knew this would infuriate him. I quickly assessed the situation. I had a few friends who were talented musicians, and I knew one who played the violin professionally and lived relatively close by. It was a long shot, but I had to try. I excused myself, grabbed my phone, and stepped out into the hallway to make a flurry of calls. After several tense minutes, I managed to reach my friend Emily, who, incredibly, was available and willing to drop everything to help us out. She promised to be there in 30 minutes. It was tight, but doable. I felt a surge of relief, crisis averted. I walked back into the bridal suite, ready to share the good news, but my father was already there, his face a mask of thunder. The wedding coordinator, looking terrified, must have told him about the quartet issue. Before I could even open my mouth, he turned on me, his voice low and dangerous. "Where were you? Do you have any idea what's happening? The quartet is incomplete. This is a disaster. You were supposed to be making sure everything ran smoothly." He was speaking loudly enough for Sarah and my mother to hear, and their faces dropped. I tried to explain calmly, "Dad, I fixed it. I called Emily, she's on her way, she'll be here in 30 minutes, and the quartet will be complete." His eyes narrowed. "You fixed it. You think you can just swoop in at the last minute and fix things your way. You always have to be the hero, don't you? Always trying to prove you're smarter, better than everyone else, especially me." His words cut deep, a lifetime of veiled criticisms finally laid bare. It wasn't about the quartet anymore. It was about everything. I felt a hot flush rise to my face. I had worked tirelessly, spent countless hours, and genuinely tried to make this day perfect for Sarah. And all he saw was a challenge to his authority, an opportunity to belittle me. "Dad, I was trying to help." I said, my voice shaking slightly. "This is Sarah's day, not yours to control every single detail and make it about your ego." That was it. The words hung in the air, defiant and true. His face contorted, a vein throbbing in his temple. In that moment, something inside him snapped. He took a step towards me, his hand raised, and I braced myself, expecting a slap. But it was worse. He grabbed my arm, his grip like a vise, and with a guttural roar, he shoved me, hard. My back slammed into the ornate plaster wall of the mansion hallway, the impact jarring every bone in my body. A loud thud echoed through the suddenly silent corridor. My head hit the wall, not hard enough to knock me out, but enough to send a sharp jolt of pain through my skull and make my vision swim for a second. I crumpled to the floor, gasping, my arm aching, a searing pain in my lower back. Sarah screamed, my mother shrieked. A few bewildered wedding guests and staff who had been passing by stopped dead in their tracks, their eyes wide with horror. Time seemed to slow down. I looked up, dazed, to see my father standing over me, his chest heaving, his face a mixture of rage and, oddly, a flicker of something that looked like dawning realization, maybe even regret. But it was fleeting. Sarah was by my side in an instant, cradling my head, her tears falling onto my face. "Are you okay? What did you do, Dad?" she sobbed, her voice laced with betrayal. My mother was hovering, wringing her hands, her face ashen, looking from me to my father, utterly helpless. I could feel the throbbing in my head, the dull ache spreading through my back. But more than the physical pain, there was a deeper, more profound hurt. This wasn't just a physical assault. It was the final, brutal confirmation of everything I had always suspected about my father's true feelings towards me. The resentment, the disdain, the complete lack of respect, it had all culminated in this violent act, in front of everyone. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, lying on the floor, humiliated and hurt, at my sister's wedding, all because my father couldn't stand that I had solved a problem he was making worse. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. What would your immediate reaction have been? I slowly pushed myself up, wincing from the pain. Sarah was still clinging to me, sobbing, trying to help me stand. My father was still standing there, frozen, his eyes darting around at the stunned faces of the onlookers. The silence in the hallway was deafening, broken only by Sarah's soft cries. As I stood, a cold, clear anger began to replace the shock and pain. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about the pattern of his behavior, the way he had treated my mother, the way he had always tried to control Sarah, and the way he had consistently belittled and undermined me my entire life. This was the culmination of decades of emotional abuse, finally erupting into physical violence on a day that was supposed to be about love and celebration. And it happened on camera. Unbeknownst to any of us, a young videographer, eager to capture candid moments, had been setting up a shot down the hallway, and his camera had caught the entire horrifying incident. I gently pushed Sarah away, assuring her I was okay, though I was far from it. My eyes met my father's. The flicker of regret was gone, replaced by a defensive scowl, as if I was the one who had wronged him. That was the final straw. "You know what, Dad?" I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tremor in my hands. "You wanted a perfect wedding. You wanted to control everything. Well, you got it. You just ensured it's going to be memorable, all right." I turned to the stunned wedding coordinator. "Get my friend Emily to the quartet. Tell her to play. Tell her we need the music to be absolutely beautiful, because the bride deserves at least that." Then I looked at Sarah, whose eyes were red and swollen. "Sarah, this is still your day. Don't let him ruin it. You go get married. Be happy." I meant it. Despite everything, my love for my sister was paramount. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I looked directly at my father, and I said, "I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with your anger, your control, and your pathetic need to always be right. I'm done being your punching bag." Literally and figuratively. I walked past him, my shoulders aching, my head pounding, but my resolve hardening with every step. I heard my mother call my name, a faint, desperate plea, but I didn't stop. I walked out of that mansion, past the beautifully decorated gardens, past the waiting guests who were now whispering and staring, and I got into my car. I drove away, leaving my sister's wedding behind, leaving my family behind, and leaving behind a lifetime of pain and disappointment. Later that evening, as I nursed a growing bruise on my back and a throbbing headache, my phone started buzzing. Texts from Sarah, frantic and heartbroken. Calls from my mother, pleading. Calls from other family members, some expressing concern, others clearly siding with my father, painting me as the one who had caused a scene. And then the video started circulating. The videographer, clearly horrified by what he'd captured, had uploaded it, perhaps as an anonymous act of justice, or simply out of shock. Within hours, it had hundreds of thousands of views. By the next morning, it was in the millions, Father Assaults Daughter at Wedding, was the title, and it spread like wildfire across social media platforms. The comments section exploded. A tidal wave of outrage, support for me, condemnation for my father, and endless debates about family dynamics, abuse, and what it means to stand up for yourself. The aftermath was chaotic. My father, facing public humiliation and potential legal repercussions, though I chose not to press charges, for Sarah's sake, tried to deny it, then deflect, then finally, under immense pressure, issued a hollow, public apology that rang completely false to me. My mother, emboldened by the sheer public outcry, finally confronted him, and their marriage, already fractured, took a severe blow. Sarah, heartbroken and caught in the middle, still managed to have a beautiful, albeit somber, ceremony with Mark, but the cloud of what had happened hung heavy over the entire event. For me, the video going viral was a strange mix of validation and further pain. It was validating to have millions of strangers witness what I had endured for years, to have their support and understanding, but it also laid bare the ugliness of my family's dynamics for the entire world to see. It forced conversations that should have happened years ago. It shattered the illusion of the perfect family, not just for the public, but for everyone in our private lives. It's been some time since the wedding. My father and I have not spoken. My relationship with my mother is slowly healing, though strained. Sarah and I are still close, perhaps even closer now, having shared that traumatic experience and finding a new depth of understanding. She chose to set boundaries with my father, something I admire immensely. The video is still out there, probably still racking up views, a permanent digital scar on my family's history. But it's also a testament to standing up for yourself, even when it's terrifying, a testament to the fact that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that lead to the most freedom. So, here I am, that's my story. It's messy, it's painful, and it definitely wasn't the fairy tale ending my sister deserved for her wedding day. But it's my truth. Like this video if you were on my side, if you understand why I had to walk away, and if you believe in standing up to emotional and physical abuse, even from family. Subscribe for more stories like this, where I share the raw, unfiltered experiences of people navigating impossible situations. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I want to know what you think. I'll see you all in the next story.